I'm going to do my best to speak up, but if people on Zoom can't hear me, please let me know. Welcome everyone to the Canandaigua Town Board meeting for September 20th, 2021. I'm Kathy Medicotts, Town Supervisor. If you would all please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, to be led by Linda Dvorak.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I go any further, thank you everyone for wearing your masks. You know, we don't want to do this reason. But we'll get through it. My glasses are fine, so I'll do my best. Dean, could you please call the roll?
Certainly. Councilman Jerry Davis.
Present.
Councilwoman Linda Dvorak.
Present.
Councilman Terry Fennelly.
Present.
Supervisor Kathy Medicotts.
Present.
Councilman Jared Simpson.
Present.
Jean, could you please confirm that the meeting was properly advertised?
Yes, it was.
There are written communications attached to the documents for the meeting this evening. The agenda and the attachments have written communications. Please review them at your convenience. Next, I would like to cover the birthdays for the month. Jean Chrisman, September 23rd. September 24th, Ken Brockett, Highway Department. September 24th, Amanda Leehammer, Parks Department. September 26th, Bruce Williams, Transfer Station. September 28th, Julia Hubbard, Parks Department. October 7th, Edith Davey, Environmental Conservation Board. October 8th, Austin Mincer, Highway Department. October 9th, Linda Dvorak, Town Board Member. October 10th, Jared Simpson, Deputy Town Supervisor, Board Member. October 12th, Chris Fonda, Transfer Station. October 14th, David Emery, Zoning Board of Appeals. October 14th, Jeff Miller, Highway Department. Happy birthday, everyone. Enjoy your day. At this time, we have our first privilege of the floor. If anyone would like to be heard, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Please state your name and speak loudly into the microphone. You might
Thank
want
you,
to-
Madam Supervisor and Town Board.
There's-
That's the microphone is on the stand.
Sorry, that was a trick.
It's that little flat thing.
Sorry
Whatever you
about
ask, I'll do it. I'm here tonight representing Canandaigua Village Development Corporation. I'm Matt Horn. I work with the Development Corporation as a program director. I just wanted to bring to your attention kind of a celebratory matter. The CLDC last week submitted an application for $20 million in downtown revitalization initiative funds to support a joint application between the town of Canandaigua and the city of Canandaigua for a variety of revitalization efforts, including improvements to Uptown and infrastructure associated with it. I think, in my experience in economic development, it represents a really monumental occasion that showcases a regional approach to economic development that Canandaigua becomes so famous for, and I think it'll pay dividends. So I wanted to thank the town board for your continued support of the LDC. I want to thank Doug for his leadership in supporting the application development. Kimberly and Samantha are on tonight for another reason, but the Bergman team helped us put together a really spectacular application to give you a chance to review it. Doug has a digital link to that application, which he's able to circulate. And also, just to let you know, you've probably seen it, it's in the packet you submitted for the record, that the LDC fully supports adoption of the form-based code. We believe it's critical to unlocking the economic potential in Uptown. So thanks so much for your support, and look forward to continuing to win that 20 million.
Thanks, Matt.
Thanks for leading that effort to get that grant ready. Hopefully we get it.
I hope so too.
How many times have we applied for it?
None. No, the town of Canandaigua has
town?
been involved.
The town has not applied before. How about the city?
The city has been involved in prior rounds.
Okay. Do you know how many? Four. Okay.
Anyone else like to be heard at this point? Yes, Yvonne, please state your name for the record when you stand up, and nice and loud, please.
Yvonne Chavez, Middle Cheshire Road, Canandaigua. really regarding the form-based code. And I'd like to know how it fits into the residents' desire for a rural environment. Sorry, I told you. I think it's a major change for the town. And the people that I've been talking to in the last week, I have yet to run into one person that's heard of it, that's measured it. And my first thought was how, whether it was town board or Doug, advertised the petition form, including Frederick Douglass Foundation of New York. The outreach was amazing. I'm wondering why they haven't done the same thing with the explanation of what this form-based code will open up as far as high density, the prospect of that. I guess I'm asking, what is the rush? Why don't we stop and get the detailed information out? What this might entail, what it opens up to. And I just thank you for your consideration.
Thank you, Ron. Anyone else? Anyone online? And I apologize, I'm using the timer on my phone, so just to be fair, I'm not reading messages. I'm not-
Tell people online to wave their hand.
Looks
or
like
to
Ryan.
raise-
Hand up.
Somebody has their hand up? Ryan,
Sorry,
oh, I
No,
read.
no,
Oh,
no, that's
and
just
Greg
the
was-
cursor.
Oh, that's
Oh,
your
that's
cursor.
just the cursor, that's not.
I think Greg was
Greg is
waving.
raising his hand.
So thank you for the privilege of the floor. I have two comments this evening. First one is Matt and Doug and John, great job on the LDC to get that application in time, in a timely manner. It was for sure an aggressive target, but great job on behalf of an observer of the LDC. And as an observer of the LDC, I would encourage this board to think about having an additional town board member as part of that team as a backup to the primary town board member that sits on the LDC. This town should not lose momentum or opportunity going forward. And there has been a need to have that group, that august group together on 1 hour a month. And I do not believe it's too much to ask to have a secondary candidate or appointment to fulfill that need if the primary person is unable to do such for whatever the reason may be. So that's my first request. The second request goes to the form-based code. I think it is time, and I think it's time to get it done, folks. Form-based code has been discussed for many months, even longer than that, I believe. I don't want to give you an exact dates, which I have in my brain, but it's been around, and it's time to implement it. It's time to implement it for the businesses in the town of Canandaigua. It's time to implement it for the citizens who live in the town of Canandaigua, are looking forward towards affordable housing. It's time for the community to come together as a whole to deliver this from this town board in a unanimous positive vote this evening. And I look forward to hearing the response once that motion gets put forward on the floor tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Westbrook. Anyone else? Okay, on priority business, next we have a presentation from Bergman Associates with regard to form-based code. Kimberly Baptiste and Samantha Aldrich, the floor is yours. And you obviously have more than 3 minutes for a presentation.
Great, thank you. Thank you everyone for allowing us to come in this evening. My name is Kimberly Baptiste with Bergman and joined by Samantha Aldrich, also with Bergman. And we've been working closely with the town really for multiple years, beginning with the Uptown corridor study that really serves as the foundation for the development of the form-based code. So for those of you familiar and involved with the Uptown corridor study, that plan, which was adopted back in 2019, had a series of recommendations associated with desired land use and development within the Uptown corridor area. The form-based code, which was officially kicked off after adoption of the Uptown master plan, was really a means to help facilitate implementation of the land use recommendations within the master plan. So over the course of really the past 18 months, we've been working closely with the town and the Economic Development Committee in order to prepare the form-based code that you've had the opportunity to review. And again, really based on the idea and notion of facilitating those land use recommendations, providing a set of recommendations for the town that is easy to use for the developer community, while also meeting the needs and objectives of the town as set forth in the Uptown Master Plan, and providing a cohesive and consistent design structure to this area of the town. So with that, we did not have any other formal presentation to share, but happy to answer any questions that members of the town board might have regarding the current document.
I do have a question. I will not be able to vote on this. I spoke with the Association of Towns, and because I have an office up there and my landlord is a substantial property owner up there. So my questions are about form, not taking a position one way or another. I have a question about in the site plan and approval procedure and the process diagram, and it talks about, it's on page 13 of my document, which is August 26th, I believe. So the document talks about the different roles of the planning board and ZBA. On the first column on the left-hand side, it says the town board reviews site plan application and sends the planning board for approval. And I'm just wondering, I can't see here what that process involves. It's not a lot of them have yes or no, correct approval or not. What exactly, and this is for the town board of the future, what are they reviewing it for? Is it, are there specific criteria to follow, if you know?
So the criteria are really the design guidelines and the parameters set forth in the form-based code. You know, one of the reasons communities institute a form-based code is for really the clarity and simplicity of process. And one of the things we will be preparing for the town is a checklist. So it's easy for the planning board, the town board to confirm compliance with the form-based code regulations. But the form-based code, as long as an applicant is meeting all of the minimum requirements for the design of the site and the building as presented in the form-based code, they will be receiving approval to move forward. And that is the intent of having a form-based code. It takes out subjectivity from the review process. So the town board review is really just another confirmation that the application for those larger scale projects does meet all of the minimum requirements as defined within the form-based code.
So I guess my concern is it doesn't say that here, and it should say that in the document up there. And if that's the case, they still should have a no option if for some reason it makes it to that point, which one would think it would not, since it's gone through many other hands. But I always think a document has to be very clear as to what people's roles are.
And so in the diagram is intended to be just a quick snapshot, and there is more detail on process in the following pages, really pages 14 through 22.
I might have missed it, but I didn't see anything with regard to what the town board is supposed to be doing. I saw planning board, DDA. So that's, again, process. And my other concern has to do with the agenda online refers to another document online, which I think is the one I have, but I believe a specific printed out version, final form as it is, should be attached to the agenda. So there's no question as to what everybody's voting on. There were a lot of versions that I've read. I think there was one before this in August also. So this document, the 26th, is that the most up-to-date version? As far as you know. And my suggestion would be that a copy of that be attached as the document that we're voting on, as opposed to just whatever's online. Beyond that, I can't comment on the particulars of it because I haven't, that's just process. So. Does anyone else have any questions?
So just to clarify Kathy's question. As a board, if a project comes through, the town board only has the approval to review and check the boxes and send it on to the planning board, does not have yes or no approval on a project. Is that correct?
That is correct. They can provide recommendations for tweaks and refinements and modifications to an application. But if an applicant meets all of the minimum criteria, they cannot wholesalely deny an application.
Okay, thank you.
All right, anyone else on the questions? Okay. Thank you very much. All right, next we have continued public hearings. I am going to step out. And Jared, if you could take over.
Sure, I'll let you head out.
I'm gonna get some water. Got my glasses.
Got my stuff right here. All right, can I get a motion to open the continued public hearing on the form-based code SR 2021-172 pertaining to that resolution?
So moved.
Any discussion or concerns from the floor? Okay, can I get a motion to, is there one on hand? Yeah, I'm not seeing over there, so just give me a shout.
Well, you asked about here, but how about other people in the audience?
Oh, I was asking, I said on the floor, sorry. The floor in front of me.
I would suggest that Ms. Chavez and Mr. Westbrook's comments on the privilege of the floor be inserted in the minutes for this public hearing.
Okay, so go, Adeline, I see a hand.
Hi, sorry. I would be there in person, but I'm fighting a cold today. So I had a couple questions regarding form-based code. The first one, and Kimberly, I know we worked a lot on this and put a lot of effort into this for several years now. And the first question I just had was regarding the mixed-use development sub-area and the form-based code. How do either of those areas address the issue of manufactured homes that has come up recently? I'm just wondering, I wasn't aware that we had gone over that when we were there in person. And could you outline a little bit more how you feel that form-based code will help reduce new development in rural areas of the town? And that's it.
So from a rural, areas of the town, the other zoning districts that are in place are really intended to address land preservation and rural development preservation. But I will say, because the form-based code is intended to facilitate and allow for greater densities and diversity in development types, you often do see more concentrated development occurring in form-based code districts, which would then subsequently mean that development is not occurring in other areas of the town. From a manufactured home perspective, so the form-based code is not regulating what is allowed in the form-based code district. It's regulating what's not allowed in the form-based code district from a use perspective. Single-family homes are not allowed in the 332 corridor sub-area. And any manufactured home that were to be proposed within the mixed use area would still need to conform to all of the other design requirements as set forth within the code. it is not manufactured homes are not explicitly listed as not permitted.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from those joining us on Zoom?
Or comments?
Anybody else like to be heard online before we come back? Karen?
I wasn't going to do this, but about the form-based code. In 2019, this town board adopted the Uptown mixed-use and transportation corridor feasibility study for the Uptown area. And this was funded by the Genesee Transportation Council and the town of Canandaigua. They developed a multimodal transportation plan with an action-oriented economic development plan to identify a strategy to transform the Uptown Canandaigua corridor, which needs transforming. So we've moved on tonight to form-based code, which is really a requirement in order to activate that Uptown plan. Form-based code has benefits. It promotes affordable housing, and you all know that's where my heart is. Because standard zoning often overregulates things like density, lot size, setback. It ends up prohibiting smaller, more versatile, and affordable forms. The missing middle housing in this town also helps small businesses, provides affordable office space, promotes walkability, which is really desirable in this world today. It preserves a sense of space. It focuses on providing a cohesive neighborhood versus micromanaged. It stops regulating the wrong things such as high density trucking, etc. Provides developers with more flexibility to promote more aesthetically appealing buildings. And while it doesn't correct everything that's wrong with current zoning, it provides an opportunity for an alternative to cookie cutter planning. I'm here to express my support for this amendment. About time.
Thank you, Karen. All right, anybody else in the audience like to be heard with a question or a comment? Okay, questions from any board members? All right. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. Now we do have a couple new public hearings that also involve the same parcel. So the next public hearing is on the text code amendment to incorporate the form-based code as part of the town's code in the form-based code zoning district of Uptown Canandaigua pertaining to resolution 2021-220 and tonight's agenda. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. The public hearing is now open. Any questions or comments from the audience at this time? See any online? Anybody raising their hand? Okay, anything from members of the board? Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, public hearing is closed. One more public hearing pertaining to the same area. This is pertaining to a local law to designate certain parcels in the form-based code zoning district and rezone certain parcels in Uptown Canandaigua to form-based code and mixed-use sub-area form-based code. This is resolution 2021-221 of tonight's agenda. Can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is now open. Any comments from the audience or questions? Anything online? Okay. Anything from board members? All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, public hearing is now closed. All right, if we want to get Kathy back in, we can get her back in as we return to the reports from the officials. For now, until she leaves again.
Without having smoke. Doesn't smoke.
Oh, sorry. All right, we're at the report, reporting from departments, heads and officials.
All right, thank you.
Mhm.
Reports of town officials and department heads. Jim, Highway Water Superintendent. Assessor, Pam. I saw you online. We'll meet you, hold on.
I have no additional comments.
All right, thank you. Leaf,
Yes, I do. This will be so exciting. Page before B, sorry. So, I think everybody on the board is familiar with the Futterman property. We've seen it in one form or another. Madam.
thank you.
So the Futterman property at 4799 County Road 16 Westlake Road is now 2 properties, and Eli Futterman has applied to the town to raise the structure on the north end of the property, which is a 1920 cottage. I won't go into all the whys and wherefores, but it's so that members of the community where it's 1,144 square feet. It's a rectangular structure. It's very typical of the cottages that were built around the lake in the last century. It is unfinished in the interior, never was finished, never had interior walls, had electrical conduit. Some of the older members of the community will reflect on this, we remember conduit running down the middle of the ceiling. Okay, and then you had basic branches coming up. So it's really simple electric, no plumbing. And as I said, no interior walls. It's in marvelous shape, and Mr. Futterman intends to bring that property, destroy that property within the next 6 months in order to build an approved design this spring. The history team went down to the cottage this past weekend, and Richard West and Sarah Linda Hooker were there to photograph and record this property prior to its being demolished. Sarah Linda and I had mentioned in the past what a shame it would be to see this property raised. When we were down there, Sarah Linda took a good look at it. And by the way, just so you're all aware, she has her master's degree in architectural preservation. So she's very nice. She looked at it, she said, wow, what a shame to tear this down. It's so easy to move. It sits on piers. You cannot see that in the photos. It has a little, about a 10-inch space between the bottom clapboard and grade. So this is a great shot from the rear of the property. I'm sorry, I forgot to include it in your packet. Shows its relationship to the shoreline really well. Gives you a really good shot of the scope of the property. So what I'm going to share with you, supervisor and board members, is that our long-range plan has identified cultural and historic assets that's important to the community. The community has expressed that to us. So here you go. Here's an ideal property to preserve. You can see in the notes that I presented to you that if you so choose to do that, there are a couple of ways to get in that path. I'm not going to go into them. But it wouldn't be terribly difficult. It's a very lightweight structure. There's not a lot of impediments to moving it eastward onto the water. It can be moved by barge. There are other possibilities to moving it as well. And that's moving it in one piece, essentially just taking off the small little kitchen structure. And that's what you see at the rear. There's a little kitchen. And then there's a small porch on the front that you can see. So removal of those, you could move this property pretty easily. It would be a great property, a great structure to have in one of our parks, particularly high possibility for Nanda. For those of you that may not be familiar, 4799 is a very short distance from Nanda Park. So lots of possibilities, lots of ways to defray costs. And again, I'm not here to tell you or to suggest that I get it all figured out or that you even want to do this. But I want you to be aware that Mr. Futterman has agreed that if the town would like, he will give us the structure. And not only do we have 6 months to act, Mr. Futterman was kind enough to say, you know what? If the town wants it, I can even push off my construction date some. And I just have to, I can only say the nicest things about the Futterman family. The primary structure on their property has been designed impeccably. It's very in keeping with Canandaigua Lake tradition, and they love this little property and don't want to see it destroyed. And I'll say this in front of the entire community, I'm not a big fan of looking down perfectly good structures on our lake and seeing multi-million-dollar projects go. That is my personal opinion. And I have some concern as a town historian about that. But I will say this about the Futtermans. That cottage, there is nothing you can do to modernize and use that cottage. All right, it's about 16 feet wide. By the time you do interior walls, you know, very small structure. And there's not a lot of room to do additional mechanicals either because it sits on piers. So there's not much they can do. They would like to give it away. We want it. It would be a great example of lake architecture. And it fits well within the long-range plan within the needs of the community. So there you go. I am done with my pitch.
What's the length?
I'm sorry.
How long is it?
It's roughly 16 feet, 36 feet. I tried to find the exact dimensions, and I wasn't able to. Okay, and I should have run down with my tape measure, which kind of ran out of time. So it's a full second story with. There's no drop ceiling in the second floor. Okay, it's literally clapboards over studs. Okay, with simple tongue and groove dividers between each bedroom. The bedrooms are small, about 9 by 10, stuff like that. It's really an attractive little structure, and the town, because it's small, you know, that just lends it to being moved. It wouldn't have a great expense in creating a pad or foundation to set it on, wherever we decide to put it. It could be updated easily because there's no interior to be gutted. So we could really do what we wanted with this.
Lee, could you pass this around for people to look at?
Sure.
So you're saying he's offered to hold off
Yes,
on construction to make something like that feasible?
yes.
Do we know, I mean, what it would, I know we're not in the business of moving things, but is that something that we could look into? The cost of moving the structure and putting in a pad and finding a place for it? What's that? Yeah,
Get us price and see if we can do it.
And I will say this, the last thing I want to do is stand in front of all of you and the town manager and say, hey, guess what? The only way to spend taxpayers' money. I think this is the kind of project that, I'm gonna write on Lindsay's coattails here, would lend itself well to volunteer assistance. And I already have names in my head of people who might be able to give us considerable financial and professional expertise And again, this is not the venue and I am not prepared. This all happened, just so you're aware of the timeframe, yesterday. On that day. So it was Saturday, Saturday that I was speaking with the farmers. So I had, 36 hours to kind of prepare this. While we had thought of it many months ago when they were applying, it kind of went off the radar with other things taking precedence. So here it is back on our radar, Mr. Futterman's game to help the town do what the town has always wanted, which is preserve our lake heritage. So,
Thank you.
Use strictly as some kind of no heat and
correct. Yeah, there's no heat, there's no running water. It is. It's just about as rough as my deer camp in the air. I don't think anybody would want to spend the night in the middle of February.
So is your team going to be working up a better estimate of what it would cost? Is that what the next step is?
Yeah, I think the best, the next
More
step would be to-
information.
And you might also, I mean, it looks like a fairly simple structure if you had to take it apart and put it back together.
Yes,
Because
yeah, if
there's
it can
no-
be done into multiple pieces, yeah,
whichever would be more cost effective.
right. And I'm just not the cat to
Right.
tell you, yes, I can tell you how much that weighs.
Now, we don't need a resolution to direct, I mean, to seek out, because if
No.
you're looking for donations of time or resources from community members, I think that would be great to be able to do that. And then, speaking for the town and representing the town.
So what I'd like
And
to do on the board's approval is move ahead with at least, working with Ms. Ferry, Parks and Rec, identifying, because I think the other key component here is, okay, great structure, we're going to put, we don't want to take it apart, put it in somebody's barn or, just stick it on, somebody's back lot. We want to make sure that it's being used appropriately. So identifying a location at the same time that we're, seeking prices and looking for in-kind and cash donations. So if the board is good with that, I will take that up and continue to move forward and update.
Go ahead. Ask the town board question. Are you looking to get the town engineer involved in this to understand about the location and the setting of this?
Well, we
As
probably
obviously as the Parks Committee hasn't reviewed this.
would, since once we get to that step, because we can't decide a spot and then the engineer come around and say, well, it's not going to work.
I should.
Yeah,
And we'd also give them the opportunity to make a donation of their time.
Exactly.
Right.
exactly.
And I fell asleep, so I don't think you heard that.
I would add this, just because we're talking about money and scope. I think it's fair to frame this way. We often look at projects that are funded, either in part or in full, that are far more costly to the taxpayer. I think what we're talking about here is a relatively small amount when we're looking at projects that the town undertakes.
So come back with more information so that rather than, relativity right now, we don't have any problem with the Parks Committee going forward and looking at it a little bit more and then bringing back a better idea of what it would cost. Because we can't obviously commit to anything if we don't know the cost.
But we appreciate you coming to us first
Okay.
and sharing that with us before doing that legwork.
All right, I will be back next month with more information.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lee.
Thanks, Lee.
Kathy, I would point out that there's
Hold Down on the ground there.
photograph of the cabin.
I saw that.
Uh,
It's worth preserving for that. Okay, Jean.
I have nothing further, thank you.
All right, planner. I'm sorry, Shauna. There you are. Can't hear you.
No, I already unmuted. It's her microphone on her.
Your microphone, Shauna. Let me come back.
Yeah, come back.
All right. Human Resources, Payroll Coordinator, Parks Coordinator. I guess that's you, Lindsay.
That's me. I have
We
nothing
have to get a
further.
shorter title for you.
HPPCDC.
Yeah. Doug.
I don't know if that's any better.
Okay, that's for me and Jared. I'll speak on Jared's behalf. The financial reports, everything is included, overtime report, all departments, highway and water, so nothing else on that. Reports of committees, boards and commissions. Finance, Councilwoman Borza.
Well, we held the budget meeting this month with the tentative budget discussion, and hopefully everyone who could attend got something out of it, and then everybody else was able to watch it on TV.
I can't find it on TV, so I don't think it's on TV. Oh, okay. But if we could get that done, that'd be helpful.
And nothing further other than that.
Planning, Terry.
Just two things here. We had a meeting on September 10th. The sanitary sewer discussion regarding County Road 28. Greg Upton was there for one of the meetings. He's still waiting word back from the county regarding data that he's going to need to help design pump stations. Putting together potential costs so we could then go out to the residents in the area and give them an idea of what it would cost, see if they're interested. We did talk about the transfer station is going to, in the next couple of years, probably have a lot more discussion, perhaps the need for a new facility. We're waiting really for word back from the county board of supervisors regarding the study that was done last year. They've been discussing it, but have not come up with any definitive guidance that would help us make a decision on what we should do. But part of that, one of the efforts that have to be undertaken is to find a better way to regulate commitments. We use the word hang tags, which are good for 2020, 2021. But rather than spending money and buying thousands of new hang tags, we suggested that we just leave those tags as appropriate entree into the transfer station next year also. Give us time to figure out some other method. The only other thing was, we just did discuss our ARPA funding money that we're getting from the federal government. And there's a question, should we devote some of that money to the Central Point Road culvert that needs repair? And perhaps the rest to Cheshire Sewer. So we decided for the Cheshire Sewer, so sometime this fall, we need to put together a revised estimate, something a little more accurate than the estimate that we've got so far. Then go back out to the people in Cheshire and ask them, this is a couple of the cost per year going forward. So we'll be working on that in the next month or so. That's it.
Thank you, Terry. Environmental, Councilman Simpson.
Nothing for this at this point.
Ordinance, Councilman Davis.
Yeah, and the ordinance, we've been meeting once a month, sometimes twice a month. We put it off. That next meeting will be on the 27th of this month because people have been away on vacation things. That's why we haven't had a meeting earlier. And then also Shauna has put in her report, what we're working on, and all of our minutes that are of the committee meetings are online. So anybody wants to see them can look there and find them. Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you. All right, now, planning board. No, Mr. Euler's not here. ZBA, Karen Ryan's not here. Environmental Conservation Board,
Nothing.
Citizens Implementation Committee, Parks and Rec,
He's at a football game.
Special Events,
Special events team met this month, and we have formally decided no Halloween at Onondaga this year. So not,
understand.
we were on the fence about were we going to be able to do that, and decided it was in safety's best interest to not.
Agriculture. And drainage, we know. No. Okay, next privilege of the floor, if anyone would like to be heard.
Kathy, if I could,
Yes.
before you put it, there was a gentleman through Zoom, Mr. Palmer,
Okay,
that said that he could not type fast enough. He was trying to let us know he would like to speak regarding the form-based code. So I don't know if
When
you want
we-
to go back to that or reopen that hearing.
sure.
Motion.
We can make a motion.
To reopen.
Yeah, because we're going to that next. If there's nobody else for the privilege of the floor.
I'll
So
skip
yeah,
that anyway.
that'll
You
give
can
Kathy
cover
a sign, and then we'll go right to that. We'll open the public. We'll reopen. Yeah, take your phones. Yes.
I think make the motion for all three because we don't know.
Yeah, in case there are other people who would like to do that.
Is that okay, Dan?
Yeah.
Let me know when.
So can
Go ahead.
you're reopening the public hearing for all three of the form-based code related public.
That was a suggestion. I think that makes the most sense. And then anybody who might have been missed will have the chance to speak before we close it and then go to the resolution in our discussion.
Mr. Palmer was the gentleman.
Okay, all right.
Was there a
So-
motion?
All right, so at this time, we would like to reopen the form-based, the public hearing dealing with resolution 2021-172, resolution 2021-175, and resolution 2021-195 relate, scratch 195. That one's the vaccination one.
172,
So-
220, and 221.
Yep. There we go. So can I get a motion to reopen the public hearings?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Public hearing is now open. Mr. Palmer?
Yes.
All right. If you'd like to be heard at the public, for the public hearing,
We have 3 minutes.
Hello?
Yep.
yeah, we can hear you. And as soon as you start, I will start your 3 minutes.
All right, sounds good. I just had a couple questions about, I just bought this property on County Road 28, April 1st, I believe it was. Now, not so much a question about the form-based, whatever. It's more of a question about the zoning. Are the tax maps going to be reviewed before any of the zoning stuff that's goes on?
So your question, is that relating to question over property lines? Is that what you're asking?
Yep.
I guess we'll turn that to as they go in. So Doug, would planning and zoning review those?
Well, so actually, there is a resolution on your agenda tonight specific by tax map numbers to rezone the properties to the form-based code relative to either the form-based code district or to the mixed-use sub area. And I think Kimberly and Samantha are still with us, and so they could jump on. I'm just trying to open the map, and I'll share my screen so that everybody can see this. And Kimberly, I'm going to unmute you, and Samantha, feel free to jump in here, but I'll share the screen while you're explaining that if you could.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything to add to what you said, Doug, regarding the actual tax map lines, but these would be all of the parcels that are intended to be included within the form-based code district. So ignore the 2 colors. It's all of the parcels that are either red or orange are included within the form-based code district. And we did utilize, tax map information and parcel map provided by the town and the county.
So not to speak out of turn, but I'm trying to get to the gist of the question. I don't know if it was tax map. Will these be resurveyed when that time comes? Because I think there was some concern over boundaries between property lines, if that's what I'm understanding in the question. So will they be resurveyed
We
as
don't
part of this
survey, the town of
process?
Canandaigua doesn't survey parcels, so we don't survey parcels. So these are the actual county real property tax records. And I don't know if Sean has been able to fix her microphone or not, so I'll unmute her, see if she's there or not, but
Can you hear me?
yes.
Yes.
Yes, we've cross-referenced these, I would say at least 4 to 5 times. We've used the maps that Bergman had. I've worked with MRB and we've gone through them ourselves with Encore and with all of the parcels. And we're very confident that we've gotten all the parcels that we're going to be rezoning right now with the 2 different areas of the form-based code district.
Okay.
Not sure that I understand the question. Is the question that this gentleman purchased the property, he wants to use it for something that he feels is being denied in this form-based code? Is that?
Are you okay to recognize him again?
Yes, yes, definitely.
We'll take more.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, he only used about a minute and you only used about a minute and 20. So you're still good, Mr. Palmer.
Well, my question is, it is about the zoning, it is about the property lines. I understood when she said that the property lines have been reviewed with the county and with Encore and everything else. My concern is that my property lines, when I bought this in April, were wrong. And actually part of my property was assigned on the tax map in Encore by being owned by the guy next to me. That's why I have the question about the zoning and the parcels and everything else is, are we going to make sure everything is right before we start rezoning?
No is the answer. Rezoning is for area. We designate it by tax map parcel ID numbers for convenience, but it's actually what is shown on the town zoning map. And it's relatively unrelated to the tax parcel. If you have a boundary line issue on your tax parcel, you should reach out to the county and it's not the tax department, the real property services department, and they should be able to get that straightened right out for you.
Okay, I guess the follow-on question to that is, as far as like the zoning and everything like that, do we have any kind of input as to what can go next to us, or is it just hey, they brought up the property, they do what they want?
Well, they're allowed to do whatever's allowed in the form-based or the zoning code on any property. There are uses that are permitted and uses that are not permitted. A skyscraper is not ever going to be allowed on the property next to you. Generally, your attorney would research that prior to the purchase and say, this is what could be allowed here. This action tonight is changing that, what could have been allowed in April. And so what the uses are set forth in the code that may be adopted tonight.
Okay, and what about, I don't know if I have 10 seconds left or not, but my next question would be, what about any easements, or like, for example, when my grandparents built this house in '59, there was something in the deed that said a certain structure couldn't be built within 100 feet of the property line. Is that still going to stand, or is that gone?
If it's still a lien on the property, if it's still an existing cloud on title, then absolutely that would stand. That's unrelated to the zoning. That's a deed restriction or a covenant.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, Ryan, I believe you're next.
Hi, everybody. My name is Ryan Stachok, and I'm just standing down here at the southern edge of our town. And I guess I would encourage to look at the form-based code as supporting that, because it seems to strike the right balance of smart growth while trying to protect our rural community, because it's going to focus development close to the cities where we have infrastructure. So I guess I would consider and encourage support for the form-based code in the Uptown area. One of the questions I do have is there a relationship between support, or I should say, the transfer of development rights that would also apply to the form-based code in Uptown only? Because again, if I'm correct, the form-based code does not apply to these beautiful lands down here. It's only specific to Uptown. Is that correct? And I thank you. I'll take my comments off video. Thank you.
That's correct.
You think they heard you?
Okay,
That's correct.
thank you. All right. Would anybody else like to be heard in person regarding the open public hearings? All right, can I get a motion to close the public hearings at this time?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, public hearings are now closed. So this takes us to, I think, hold on.
No,
Yeah,
I
we can
think
text her.
we have some of the
We have the,
resolutions.
yeah, the resolutions are up and she's sitting those out as well. So we have at least the next one, we have 172.
I think they concluded. I'm sorry, just for clarification, you guys concluded the privilege of the floor before you opened the public hearings, right?
I don't think
Yeah.
she really. held
I don't
the
think we really
privilege of
had
the
it.
floor. Like, does somebody want to be heard on that?
Just
now?
for the record.
Okay. Okay, come back.
I think she did mention it, but if anybody would like to be heard for the privilege of the floor that we had prior.
Kathy's not here.
Okay. Okay, resolution number 2021-172, adoption of the Uptown Canandaigua form-based code and seeker determination of non-significance.
Second.
All in favor?
I,
Aye.
Okay, is there any discussion at this time?
oh, you already asked us to vote.
It was like a pre-vote.
Yeah, so let me back that up. Let's strike that. Because let's back that up again for a second. I was still in public hearing mode. So if we can back that out, just strike that out and it never happened. Resolution 2021-172, adoption of the Uptown Canandaigua form-based code and seeker determination of non-significance. So is there any discussion on this resolution from the board members? So I just would like to share some thoughts from residents that I have received, those that are not here, dealing with the idea of form-based code. I did quite a bit of research and looking and reading, and there is one common theme that people are worried about, and that is urban growth and urban density. Very few cities throughout the United States have form-based code. And those that do are much larger than Canandaigua. Often it's to revitalize a failing urban center or an urban region. I know that as a board that we need to consider the growth, we need to consider the developers, but we also need to consider the current town residents who are going to be affected by this. Because oftentimes, and it seems, and I understand both sides, the need to grow, but also the need to protect the residents who are here. And I worry about the impact. One, just to read in a comment that I received from a former board member who now works for the Sheriff's Department. He is concerned about the safety of this increased density with the structure of Route 332. With that center lane, as he says, there's no consideration provided for safe access for law enforcement. And his concern is he sees form-based code as the start of urbanization for the town, which goes against the will of the community. Another board member who compared this, another community member who compared this to changing our rural culture into the airport that went in years ago with public comment after the decisions were made in their perspective, that completely changed that area of town, cutting off a road, bringing in much more high-density housing into that area. So there are people who are concerned about the growth and the development that form-based code will bring to the area. So I just wanted, before we vote on this, I just wanted to share that, and that there are concerns out there about what this is going to do and the changes that it could bring to the town and the area of Canandaigua. So with that said, regarding resolution 2021-172, can I get a motion?
We already had the motion.
But I deleted all that.
You didn't specify where you.
Okay, so I deleted up into that point. Okay,
We
so,
already have been discussing.
so all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? And the motion carries. Do we want to jump to a different one? There's another one, Jug, that you wanted to take regarding these.
Those would be 220 and 221. If you wanna.
Let's jump to 220 and 221, so we don't need Kathy to keep coming in and out. Okay, resolution number 2021-220, adoption of a local law to amend town code to include the Uptown Canandaigua form-based code and seeker determination of non-significance.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yeah,
Oh.
hold on a moment, please.
Oh, sorry, we jumped ahead of you and didn't give you a chance to catch up. We were out of order.
That's okay. Yeah. We're doing.
220.
I'm sorry, who did the motion?
Here and Terry.
Gary and I second.
Okay. So any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? Motion carries.
A little bit longer.
Number 9.
Number 9. And then 221. All right, resolution 2021-221. Secret determination of non-significance and adoption of a local law to designate certain parcels in the form-based code district and to amend the official zoning map to reflect these changes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? And the motion carries.
Next, Kathy.
Sure, there is one resolution that relates to establishing a fee relative to the.
Oh.
So if you want to do that one.
Do we want to do that before she, yeah, we probably should get them all done.
Above yours, Kathy.
It's resolution 214.
All right, thank you. All right, you gotta, there's one more.
All right.
Yeah, sorry.
Shows you the fee.
It's not a,
Wait in the doorway.
it's not a big, don't,
Discussion.
yeah, don't walk around the corner. Just, all right, so we're going back to 214. Gene? Just give me a shout when you're there. All right. So, resolution 2021-214, amending the town of Canandaigua 2021 fee schedule as it pertains to the inclusion of form-based code.
So moved.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nay? All right, the motion carries. And that. All right, Kathy.
Resolutions. I can't think if they continue resolutions.
It's 5.
Once-
First,
We discussed that.
Okay.
We discussed that.
Resolution number 2021-175, secret determination of non-significance and adoption of a text code amendment pertaining to zoning in order to allow for the replacement of certain pre-existing signs with digital signs.
And this is the one that goes along with resolution 208 that may want to be together at the end of the meeting.
So we'll put these at the end of the meeting. Is that-
Unless you
Any
go into
opposition to
executive
that?
session now.
Just the direction of the board.
I think we can probably get most of this other stuff done for you.
Get it done and put those at the end, because we're gonna exit and then come back and make decisions.
Unless there's any opposition to that.
Mhm.
Is everyone all right with that? Putting it at the end?
Sounds good.
What are we doing?
We're moving the digital signs to the end
Oh, okay.
So resolutions 2021-208
and
and
175.
2021-175. All right. So we go to 195 next.
Yes.
Kind of confusing. Okay. Resolution number 2021-195, adoption of policy relating to COVID-19 vaccination for employees of the town of Canandaigua.
And I think we're talking about postponing this one indefinitely until there's clear,
Right, so if you want to make a motion to do that,
I'd like to make that motion.
Second.
any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to postpone indefinitely. Okay. Is 206 the next one?
Yes.
Yeah.
Resolution number 2021-206, acceptance of the monthly financial reports.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Resolution number 2021-207, acknowledgement of receipt of tentative budget, declaration of preliminary budget of the town of Canandaigua for the year 2022 and establishment of public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. But
Wait,
Kathy, I'm sorry.
Hang on.
Jean's waving at me. I'm trying to also do somebody's.
Jean,
Oh, when is the public hearing going to be established?
No, the salaries, we talked about that at the finance committee.
we did, but we're just setting a hearing, yeah.
Right, but the salary of the highway superintendent is incorrect.
No, the salary, the listed salary is the highway and water superintendent's combined total salary, the elected highway and the appointed water superintendent. Then if the town board would also like to include the stipend that goes to the registrar, the town clerk's elected salary is $66,583, and the registrar, I believe, is $2,500 for a total of $69,083. The elected highway superintendent makes $54,500, and as the water superintendent makes $52,020. So that number there is the combined of the two.
Correct.
I think that's what you wanted, was just that separation.
Clarification. Yeah,
If
because,
it's on the record, that's sufficient for your purposes?
well, I will have to advertise what's in the resolution. So if you want it advertised as a town clerk 66 and the highway water superintendent 106, then the resolution would be adopted as is, or you can do a motion to amend.
We talked about amending to have a little table in there that would have elected salary and other office, other salary.
I'm in favor of that. I'll make a motion to amend it.
Yes.
I'll second it.
And the amendment is what Doug just rattled off. And
Yep.
Jean you have that data, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah. So
I have the town clerk at 69,083 with the town clerk 66,583 and appointed registrar of vital statistics of 2,500. Highway superintendent of 106,520, highway superintendent of 54,500, and appointed water superintendent of 52,20.
That's what I have as well.
Great.
So that would be your amended.
Okay, so all in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion to amend carries. Now, as to the resolution as amended, can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries.
To move to the end.
Okay, this is part of that other one.
208.
Resolution number 2021-209, authorizing town manager to create an office specialist one position shared between the town clerk and development office. So moved. Any discussion?
Is this, so this is an addition to the one in the budget?
No, this is the one in the budget.
This is the one in next year's?
This is the civil service creation.
Okay, because that one said it shared between, one of the spots that said it shared between 3 and one of the spots that said it's shared between 2. So it's shared, this is the one that's going to be shared between, because it had town clerk, development and manager's office in the budget, I believe.
There is a position in the budget that is proposed to be shared between the town manager's office and highway, the water. And then there is a separate position that is proposed between the development office and the town clerk's office.
Okay,
That's
So-
this development with town clerk, as it says.
so then this one is, so this one is in, this is in the one in the 2022 budget? That's where it gets, where I'm confused by it.
It's in the budget, yes.
Was my
Okay.
recollection.
This is just creating the civil service position. It's not filling the position.
No, I know that. They're just listed differently.
Any further discussion? Do we move
Okay,
it?
no.
Well, do you want to ask your, I'm not sure I understand.
No,
your
there,
question.
I'm just, I wanted,
There's civil service office specialist one positions and civil service account clerk
Right.
positions. They're different positions.
okay,
Those are defined
that's,
by the
yeah, that's
county
what I,
civil
that's,
service.
yeah, that's what I was getting at. So they're different. Not exactly what's in the budget. That's fine.
No, they are exactly what's in the proposed tentative budget. They're identical.
That's my recollection, but we can look at the budget and tweak it if it's all-
I mean, we can bring it up and look at it again. We don't need to use up any time here. I was just wondering, because there was something that was different from how I was reading it. I could have been reading it incorrectly. I could have been a different line. So we can talk about that offline. If it's something that needs to be tweaked, we can tweak it for the next one. So that's fine.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Okay, resolution number 2021-210, budget adjustment authorization to account for increased revenue in the highway fund.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carried. Resolution number 2021-211, capital project budget adjustment authorization to account for additional American Rescue Plan Act coronavirus local fiscal recovery funds.
Second.
Any discussion? Do you want this? This is just has to do with, because some towns did not take the money, did not have to take the money, that money was redistributed. So we got a whopping
$713.
$4,713. But we'll take it, right? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-212, approval of information technology professional services agreement with integrated systems.
Second.
Any discussion?
I would like to thank Doug and Jean for acting quickly on I shot an email over to Doug today that concerns about our email, that it was not 100% secure, our online, our web-based email. And I'd like to thank Jean for that email she sent out on how to work around that and get to a safe, because our passwords and usernames and passwords were being sent out unencrypted. So some off-site places wouldn't allow us to log into our town email through their system because it was not secure. But thank you for acting on that so quickly.
That happened to me on the county system.
Yeah.
It wouldn't let me log in, but I just didn't use their
So
service.
They're secure now with what Jean, read your emails. And Jean sent one out with a correct, secure route.
Must
to
have
go
been
through
warp
it.
Speed to fix that.
Yeah, so
We
thank
still
you.
have access to all of our emails and all that.
Yeah.
Our old emails. Okay. All right.
We need to vote.
Okay, thank you. I knew I was forgetting something. oxygen. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-213, budget transfer authorization, for Canandaigua Consolidated Water District Engineering.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries.
We did.
We did 14.
Resolution number 2021-215, authorizing town manager to execute contract with SG Security for the replacement of the town hall fire panel.
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-216, authorizing town clerk to execute contract with InStream for the scanning of documents associated with the LGRMIF grant.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Jean, can you just tell me what LGRMIF stands for? If you know. If you don't
Make
know.
it to the letter. Hold on.
Google.
Local Government Records Management Information Fund.
Great, thank you.
Hmm.
And while we're on it, congratulations. I saw your communications. I meant to mention it early. Congratulations for getting all your courses done for your certification.
Thank
So,
you.
Great job. I meant to mention that earlier. Any further discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-217, authorizing town clerk to execute contract with Solara Concepts for records management policy and procedures associated with the LGRMIF grant. And now that we know what that is, can I have a motion to approve?
So second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-218, authorization of temporary part-time deputy town clerk. Yes, there's a typo there. We'll fix that to authorization.
Yep, got it.
Any further discussion? Any discussion? Do we move it and have a second?
No.
So moved.
Heard, okay,
Got a so moved. I'll second.
all right. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-219, acknowledgement of planning application representing Canandaigua Crossing LLC, owner of property at 2536 Rochester Point Road for site plan approval.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
And I'm going to abstain just because I voted against the form-based code. I'm not against the project here, but I'm just going to,
You're gonna
So
vote
this-
against it?
no, I said I'm going to abstain. Yeah, I didn't say against.
And I will vote on this. I don't think I have a conflict.
No, I don't think that's inappropriate.
No.
It's not really, it's just keeping it open anyway. So not really. Okay,
And 221.
And 221.
Resolution number 2021-222, appointment of certain positions as town of Canandaigua zoning officers.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-223, approved contract agreement for snow and ice control on county roadways for the 2021-2022 snow removal season.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Get any better deal, Jeff?
Hopefully next year when
Okay.
They weren't moving.
In the finance meeting, we were discussing he was going there, so.
My understanding was there was no movement.
committee together. It's, yeah. We've only seen a $900 increase in 15 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause I remember questioning that last year when it came before us.
Any further
Wait
discussion?
until December 15th before you sign the contract. You might get a better price.
We get more out of them, what they do is increase our taxes,
Oh, yeah.
county tax, and we pay them.
Oh, yeah.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-224, approval of generator maintenance agreement with Cummins Inc.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-225, authorizing highway superintendent to promote motor equipment operator to working supervisor.
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-226, authorizing highway superintendent to promote motor equipment operator to working supervisor.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-227, accepting the resignation of working supervisor Ken Brockett.
Second.
Any discussion? I'd like to thank Ken very much for his years of service, and I know I speak on behalf of everyone else here, 43 years of service. So please extend our thanks to him. And sorry to see him go, but it was great. Thanks for his work. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm opposed in theory, but not in practice, I understand. Resolution carries. Good luck to Ken.
Well, he'll be back.
Have some very good luck.
He's- Well, there he is again.
In his endeavors. Here we go. Resolution number 2021-228, authorization to hire seasonal part-time motor equipment operator.
Second.
Any discussion?
So this, I was wondering what he was going to do.
So, Carol Lady has quite a few grant opportunities. Over the years, Ken has worked with Kevin on many projects in the town. Ken will be hired back through the town to work with Kevin, and his salary will be reimbursed with benefits plus pay it off of it to use as a rental to the town. So it's a revenue coming back to the town for his expenses and also. And it also helps. It's not just our town, he'll work in other towns.
So we discussed in the finance meeting about, in the first whereas paragraph, adding the words to assist the watershed council to make it just a little more clear.
Is there a written contract somewhere? that
No,
was
I don't
in
think that's a great idea. That's technically he's hired to, as a highway employee. If we do that, there could be insurance implications and, yeah. I'd recommend just hiring him like you would hire, the resolution should read like you would hire anybody else.
Okay.
The highway superintendent has the authority to assign
All
employees
right,
where he sees fit.
works for me.
Just for clarification, though, it is temporary, meaning the maximum time is 6 months.
Does that say that?
That's what temporary civil service managers are.
Okay.
Yeah, seasonal, temporary, they interchange.
Okay,
Sorry, I
as
should
long
have
as
said
that's,
seasonal.
as long as that covers it. All right, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-229, authorization for the town manager to make grant application relating to Motion Junction, COVID-19 small business relief, and setting a public hearing on said application.
Second.
Any discussion?
So can you, the benefit of this, can you just walk it through for the public there? Because it's a good opportunity for us.
Yeah, so the federal government gave all the states basically CARES money. That's the COVID. This is not, just for clarification, this is not the ARPA money. That's the separate that we've been talking about, like for Cheshire and stuff. The CARES money is a separate standalone. And there's all kinds of regulations with it, and it's been difficult, from what I understand, for municipalities to qualify for use of CARES money. And the town of Canandaigua by itself doesn't actually qualify unless it would be small business COVID relief response, because our low to moderate income level is actually higher than what's allowed by the national average. However, ADA accessibility inclusivity is actually an allowable, and it qualifies at 100%. So this would actually allow me to go ahead, and this would be me making this grant application. This would not be hiring us out, me making this grant application on our behalf to CDBG for the CARES funding associated with specifically ADA compliance inclusive for Motion Junction. And what I've been told by the folks at CDBG, Community Development Block Grant, right, CDBG, is that if we're going to be making an application anyway, they would strongly ask the town to consider a small business COVID relief associated with that, because they're really trying to push that money out into the different municipalities, and ask that we consider as part of the application also $500,000 for that. That I had a brief conversation at the LDC meeting on Thursday. Theoretically, if we were awarded, could be administered by the LDC on our behalf for town of Canandaigua specific businesses. So that's awesome. The gist of it. The one thing is, the grant does require a public hearing to make the application. So what I would be asking, that's kind of those blank lines on the second page of this resolution, is that we hold, it could be by Zoom, that we hold a Zoom session sometime next week, just so that I can make the application by October 1st.
Is the public hearing required to be a public hearing attended by the town board?
Yes.
Or is it? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And what's the best case scenario on this? How much are we?
Well, so the current guidelines, from what I understand from the state, is a maximum of 2 million. But I was also told to ask high because they're trying to push the money out.
Must be nice. Must be nice to. Man. So that's fingers crossed. All right, thank you.
Any further discussion?
Just 70.
Oh, I think there was-
No, it's not listed as a blank line.
You tell me.
That you have to advertise for?
Mhm.
How far?
What's your lead time for advertising?
Sometime next week would be fine. I don't know, a week from tonight, maybe.
That's fine for me.
Yeah, that works for me. 27.
And this could just be by Zoom. It'll take us
right
5 minutes.
Yeah.
What time? 6?
Normal time. If it's not the normal time, it'll mess people up.
It'll mess you up.
Speaking for myself.
Correct. All right, so.
Okay.
And thank you, Vern. How would I do that? I just trying to figure out if we needed to vote on the amendments. I don't think we did. That's what was going on in my head. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Resolution number 2021-230, accepting the resignation of water maintenance assistant Mark Scott.
So moved.
Any discussion?
Yes.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution carries. Yes, that's exactly what I was going to do as well. If there's no objection, I'd like to put resolutions 2021-231 through 2021-234 be considered as a block. Can I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Resolutions 231, 232, 233, and 234 carried. Approval of the town board meeting minutes of August 16th, 2021. Have a motion to approve.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion, corrections, deletions, opposition? All in favor of approving?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to approve town board meeting minutes of August 16th, 2021 carries. Payment of bills. Jean,
Yep, utility abstract dated August 26, 2021, totaling $16,200.60. General fund of $2,743.40. Highway fund of $14.19. Capital projects of $1,160. Water districts of $534.01. And custodial funds of $11,759. And the town board abstract dated September 20th, 2021, totaling $580,075.19. The general fund of $253,256.83. Highway fund of $209,422.06. Capital projects of $59,580.20. Lighting districts of $1,123.05. Water districts of $28,462.26, and custodial funds of $28,230.79.
thank you.
Gene, what did you say the August 26th abstract was for the highway?
Highway fund of $4.19.
Thanks.
Any further discussion, questions? All in favor of approving?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion to approve payment of bills carries. Thank you, Jean. Welcome. Next, we have privilege of the floor. Anyone would like to be heard? I just want to say something. Was mentioned earlier by Greg Westbrook to have another town board member on the LBC. I will be resigning my position on the LBC. I only have a few more months. I can probably do one more month. So I don't know if that position I took over, Kevin was on the position before I was. When he left, I took over. I will not be able, for many reasons, to finish the term. I can probably do one more month, so I'll be tendering my official resignation.
So
What do you want?
Hmm?
You can't do it. Get someone to replace you right now.
I'm not the second, but I'm letting people know. So
that will there could be some crossover. Maybe.
I mean, technically, we could go through the end of the year with me not being there. They can still conduct business, but I'm just letting you know that chances are that I won't be able to be present.
But it feels like we should probably try to fill the void, right?
That's what I think, but
And I mean,
someone's
you
willing.
have a deputy.
A deputy,
He has
yeah, who
school
has a
there.
job.
Good job when they meet, so that's.
Oh, so
the
that'll
issue
never be
for
a
me
issue.
as well.
So it's gonna definitely be somebody with house.
We'll run into that problem
Yep.
many times in the future. You know. So let's, there for the people, if they are willing to do it till the end of the year, otherwise I will do my best, that's all I can.
Will it be for the next 3 months or so?
We can do
I mean, till the end of
November,
the year.
October rather, so 2
So
months.
November, December.
Well, I have to figure out how the,
I'll do it.
what the bylaws
Terry's good with it.
say, we have to look into the legality.
If we need to make a motion.
Yeah, why don't you do it now? For the,
I'm concerned with the bylaws say about when people are, when the term is up and how filling the seat goes. I don't want to do it and then have it be wrong. I don't have them in front of me.
okay,
That's my concern.
if you can do October, then I guess we'll do it. in
I can do
October.
it
Well, that way that provides some crossover.
as well, correct. All right. Any other business?
Can I just ask a question about that?
Of course.
So the bylaws for the LDC, there are 5 voting members of the LDC. So there's 1 town elected official, there's 1 city elected official, there's 1 town appointed official, 1 city appointed official, and then 1 representative of the Chamber of Commerce that's appointed by the Chamber Board. So those are our 5 voting members. So the town has 2 representatives, obviously the city has 2 representatives, and then the chamber has 1. So the elected positions for the town and city of Canandaigua, they were designed intentionally that they would end at the same time so that there was always a staggering, and it ends the term, because you were actually, I believe, Kathy, appointed to fill a term. which that term currently ends at the end of this year, December 31st at the end of this year. January of next year, when the town board of the town of Canandaigua does its organizational meeting, the town board of the town of Canandaigua will need to appoint someone to your town elected spot for that new term. So what you're really talking about is filling of the unexpired.
Filling for 2 months.
So, right, for this. So I just want to make sure everybody's.
I just wanted, and I agreed, I just wanted to make sure that it wasn't, and whoever's taking it, I don't want to commit you to 10 years of this, I just want to make sure, so that's why I bring it to everyone's attention. All right. Anyone else on privilege of the floor? All right, I think we are going into executive session. No,
We have to do a mark this.
I think that's,
I think you're gonna want to.
Executive session first.
Executive session.
Yeah.
we're gonna, so we will conduct business after executive session. So can we have a motion to move?
Motion to enter executive session.
And that's for the purpose on this particular issue with regard to litigation, correct?
Yes.
Do the other one after the. Okay.
Could be removed by a governmental entity, agency, court, by Lamar's own action or decisions, or for any other reason. The obligations to provide the town with advertising will terminate, but the parties' remaining rights and obligations under this agreement shall remain in effect. So even if you decide, it's confusing to me reading that. So any of the other agreements in this part will remain in effect, even if you decide to remove the sign of your own accord. So that's confusing to me as to what that means for the town, what agreements, anything prior. So just looking for some clarification on that.
Yeah. So I think it's a little bit emblematic. I think that's a good place to start, Jared. And I think based on the conversation we've had for 3 months now with the town board, it's emblematic of the concerns the board members are having with the complexity of this agreement, and the concern that there's a lot of legal language. I'm summarizing what I'm hearing from the board members. A lot of legal language that says things like Councilmember Simpson just said, well, Lamar can do whatever they want, and then the town still doesn't get it. And that's their concern. And I think that you're going to hear more of that now. The agreement comes across very one-sided and and written by very talented attorneys. I think Lamar has retained top legal talent, and that's concerning as all get out for the board members, if you catch my drift.
He's trying to say we're done, Mike.
No, I think you're
I'm
trying.
kidding.
No, I think Joe did a very good job
I agree.
protecting his client's rights, and And the town is a town, not a business.
No, I understand, the town, of course, can have any change that it want to discuss, and that's one of the reasons this has been discussed with them. I would say in that specific provision, other than the Lamar removing the sign, and in that case, something's gone terribly wrong, either with the business or otherwise, it wouldn't make a lot of sense. I mean, I think in every other instance, it's pretty easy to understand why there wouldn't be, additional obligations if the sign had to be removed because the state came in or otherwise. If Lamar removed the signs because something's bad has gone to Evan to Lamar, it's not going to be in the position that the folks advertise. So.
Yeah, but it doesn't say Lamar,
Yeah,
it doesn't say
that.
nobody should have obligations, because Lamar doesn't have obligations, but the town still does.
It says, go ahead.
I think what it's saying that if the sign is, let's say it's blocked by a building, and it becomes economically unfeasible, we take the sign down, then we can't provide the advertising because there's no economics for a mark. So if the sign comes down, we can't provide the advertising. Then it's not a problem. So if it goes away, how will we give you the advertising if it's not, run it?
But this doesn't
But
seem
it
to
says-
be, this doesn't
Yeah.
seem to only apply to the advertising that you're providing to us. It seems to be
Everybody.
saying
But it
There's
says, to quote, it says, but
responsibilities that we
Yeah.
have.
but the parties' remaining rights and obligations under this agreement shall remain in effect.
Yeah,
So this,
both parties, not just Lamar's. I think that was in this statement earlier, maybe I Chris. No,
But if-
this is not just one, this is both.
right,
Parties
but,
is both.
so if
But
the
that would be
signs,
different from what council, your pro-council.
What Jim was saying is just the advertising. There's other rights and obligations in the agreement behind it, besides everything.
Right,
So,
well,
but this
you know,
says-
as a government, we have to be as simple and dumb it down as much as possible because we're not gonna be here forever, right? So it's pretty simple what we're trying to get done. 2 signs instead of 4, this location, they're gonna be digital, you have this. If we can't do it because there's a law, we're not gonna do it, no one's, we're held harmless. But there's so many things in here that are subject to so much interpretation down the line. And I'm just gonna
Again,
give.
we're accepting if any changes you want to. We've been saying that.
And that's what we're trying to let you know now, so we don't, but I doing this in private, I'm just gonna give you one of my concerns. It's on my page 8. The section is 13, grandfathering of signs. So there's.
So if I can just ask a quick question, because I'd like to move it along and try to get this done if we can, and try to understand what you're looking for and take it out. The severability is a pretty common provision. If the real issue here is you want removed the fact that Lamar takes the sign down, I think that addresses the concern.
No,
I think a big issue for us is as a town, we can't be, there's a part in here where we're joining you to defend things, where there's some business ownership that is implied by us doing all this stuff, and we're not in the sign business, so we don't have any skin in that
I
game,
was
and we don't
comfortable
want.
with it, I agreed to it, but it's it's on my decision.
The only way to eat the elephant if there's the provisions is to take it one at a time. So in 21, as I understand it, the real concern is that it allows Lamar to remove the sign, which would somehow, put it in a superior position. We can remove that provision. And
I guess
again, that's the issue.
So that's the only issue, but that's not the only issue, but before I lose my, it says the parties' remaining rights and obligations under this agreement shall remain in effect. What are our remaining rights and obligations if you can't?
If there's no sign.
Gotta specify. Can't just leave that out there. Are we gonna owe you another sign somewhere?
What?
No, it doesn't provide.
Here's what I think the town
The
board,
agreement doesn't say. That's what it
Joe,
doesn't.
I think what might satisfy the town board, and correct me if I'm wrong. It makes sense, of course, if you take the sign down, you're not gonna provide any more advertising on there, of course. But what's scary, what's unknown is, but the parties' remaining rights and obligations under this agreement shall remain in effect.
Right.
Of course they do. Let's just take it out. Right? You're okay with that, right?
Take out the whole sentence or the whole?
But the parties' remaining rights and obligations under this agreement shall remain. in
yeah, because
effect.
it can stop at terminate. Because if the sign's not there, of course, we're not gonna have any advertising. But that doesn't give us the responsibility to find a new spot for it. If something like that were to happen, it just terminates.
Or
You
if there's,
already have to terminate.
Yes, exactly. Take that right out. We want to start at page 1. Or is that? Would that be more?
That's the old and complicated. You're right, I mean, it's been going on for too long, it just. it seems couple pages on the cover, so.
And I wish it could, I will tell you though, that, you know, we're in federal court, we're pretty fairly well regulated. And so we have to be kind of, you know, it's.
Well, we can't tell from the agreement as it's written right now, what is the size of the sign that we're agreeing to? It's
It's
got,
right in the exhibit. It's
there's,
exhibit one.
but there's exhibits that have a sign, and then there's a different number somewhere else.
They're not. We did an application, Sean is, I don't know if he's here or not. We did an application, we gave you 2 options. We gave you a 22-foot option and another option. So you could just decide which one you want. It's not done to confuse you, and I mean, I had a discussion with Sean, I think she passed that on to Doug in person.
Joe told me that on the phone earlier and I forgot to.
Okay.
Oh, okay, because I was gonna say, because on page 22, it says 22 feet. That was what we talked about.
We're just giving
Okay.
options, because the 22-foot,
Why would you give us an option if the agreement says?
because it limits the sign design you can have. Because of the physical limitation, you're limited to the design of the sign, and it was not clear to us whether or not you would be happy with a 22-foot sign or not. So we left it for your option. It doesn't matter to us. If you want the 22-foot sign, it's in here. We put in a 20, I think it's like 25. We put in a 25 because it does dramatically affect, it's not, it materially affects what the sign looks like. So it's your option, but what we didn't want to say is, here's a 22-foot sign. You look at it and think, well, we don't like this. This is direct. We want something else. So we put the 22 and 25 foot. If you said, you know what, we want the 25 foot, then we would have gone back with a pen and made a change to the agreement. That's where we did it.
Could I just jump in on that? So in the exhibit, and Chris has got it open right here.
Yeah.
On exhibit B here, so you're showing option 1, option 2, but you're showing option 1 at 25 feet. And option 2, you're showing at 22 feet, but you've made the size of the digital billboard larger, wider than what it was originally. It actually is spelled out right here on the side.
We traditionally do it by square footage. I think the terminology in the attachments are 300 square feet. So if you do 12 by 25, that's 300 square feet. If you do 10 by 30, that's 300 square feet. If you have 12 feet, it's only 2 foot higher. So we shrunk it to be rectangular more than square. That was kind of our thought process, not trying to confuse.
But originally, we were talking about a 22-foot tall sign that had a 12 by 24 width.
Yeah, well, that's number
LED.
1.
But now what you're proposing there is number 1 at 25 feet, and at 22 feet, you're trying to make the sign wider. The digital sign is actually no longer 12 feet, it's actually
We
wider.
didn't
than
know
that.
if it is wider, but it's not as high. But if you
Right,
want to
but
leave it
you've
22
increased
if
the
you want to leave
size
it
of the
22
digital
feet,
front.
Number 1, that's fine. We're just trying to provide an option, that's all. It wasn't meant to confuse anybody or to.
And then the same with the 5 and 20 sign. The agreement,
Correct.
we've said 25-foot sign. Then in the language, you actually reference an exhibit that actually has it, I believe, at 23 feet. And then in your application, you made an application for a 24-foot tall sign. So there's 3 different sizes you're proposing even for the 5 and 20 sign.
Not with 22 feet, that's whichever one you want. Is what we're trying to.
Okay, so we can,
You
so
can see why we're confused.
Yeah, and I do see why you're confused, and I was trying to get less confusing was, because
It would seem that you would draft the agreement, whatever, you're the sign guy, here's what works, here's what demographically we determine works.
that we were told that
If
you
you put it in
guys.
here, then you come in with an application that matches the.
But Mr. Fowler, we were told you all might want to have some say on the design, or we would have done that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
That's we
That's. we
I
understood
think,
you
I think
before.
our say on the design was like, we didn't like the 2-pole thing that looked like a football stadium kind of signboard. And we sort of like the thing that was a little more decorative. That was where our say on the design was. It wasn't as much about how square, rectangular, because we didn't want it too tall and we wanted it to look somewhat nice.
Well, what do you all say, if that's what you want, and you're satisfied, what you're saying is, these are the dimensions we want, period. The design is fine with us, with those dimensions, then that's what we're.
That's exactly.
We're obviously.
All right, okay. Well, yeah, we wanted to have this public conversation because we are having a hard time having.
It's like telephone, right?
Yeah, so,
Understood.
on page 5 though,
Okay.
there, for me, I was reading this and maybe it rolls over into 6 because it starts to talk about the town must, yes, at the top of page 6, the town must inform Lamar of its chosen flights, reasonable amount of time, at least 3 weeks. If all the slots during the flight have already been rented to other people, blah, 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 will offer the town alternative flights of it that are still available.
Yeah, so.
What does that mean?
Our recommendation was, see, what happens is our job is to sell advertising.
Correct.
If you came to us and said tomorrow, hey, I want the board on Wednesday and it's sold out, we can't, it's sold out, so we can't take off of paying an advertiser. Our recommendation was to get your slots, you could tell us what time frame you wanted, January 1st of every year, and we'd slot them all in. So the further in advance you give us, the more apt you are to get the location you want. We just don't want you saying, hey, we want to do, the Lake Festival, and you call us 2 days before it starts, and then we say, we're sorry, it's out, then it doesn't work. So you can reserve the slots 2 years in advance if you want. We don't, if you know your time frame.
Oh, I
it's
guess
We
easier.
don't, but maybe something here, maybe you mean something different, but
Right.
the town must inform Lamar of its chosen flights a reasonable amount of time before the 28-day flights begin and at least 3 weeks in advance. Okay, but we have things that we don't know necessarily, but 3 weeks is reasonable. But do you mean to say if we don't do it within that 3
No.
weeks and then all slots during any flight have already been rented?
No,
So-
if they're available, it's no problem.
I
we
know,
like
But what
that
if they're not?
But
So
what-
what the board said before, what if you sold it out, sold
For the year.
the whole year on January 1? What if you had already sold it?
or 4 weeks out, if you sold it all out.
We, so
They
we're,
tell the town in our vision.
I'm sorry.
Just kidding.
3
That's
weeks
possible,
and
that you could do 2 years in advance, you do it 3 years in advance. I don't,
We
you know what I mean, like.
don't
we don't know.
Yeah, we can't.
I don't know if I'm gonna sell it either, you know what I mean, like, that's what we're
So-
supposed to do, but.
but as I understood it, you've agreed that you can put up a sign and we are gonna have one of 6 slots.
For time frame, yeah, yeah. for
What
sure.
does that mean? Because,
There's 28, there's 13, 28, I think we just defined it by days, how many days you have. I think it was, Mike, what's the number, was it 4 months? or-
6 28-day flights.
6 28-day
28-day
flights.
flights,
What
yeah.
does that mean?
That means that you'll have a digital slot 6 times on each board.
So
throughout the year.
So
Here's-
168 days.
For 28 days.
it just dawned on me why I was okay with that. Lamar can't, so there's X number of flights you have available on a board
Oh,
per year, right?
Perhaps that, yeah, there's only
can't sell.
6 slots that we sell, we don't add slots, or we only give a maximum of 6 slots.
On a day?
Correct, at any given time, there's no more than 6 slots.
But so, and
Okay.
then multiply those, that 6 times 48 seconds times however many seconds there are in a year. That's the maximum number of flights they can sell, right?
There's a maximum amount of time that is on there.
6
We
of
don't add-
those,
we
6
don't want
28-day
people
flights
selling it.
they can't sell.
We promise X amount of impressions as part of, as a contract.
Joe, can you make that friendlier and less like Lamar
Chris,
is
let
trying to
us-
steal
can we-
something?
Well, can we ask the questions and then maybe?
Yeah, yeah.
answer, because I feel like
Yeah.
I'm getting confused by you now.
I'm getting confused too.
So in any day, there's 6 messages that are gonna be shown.
Correct, rotated, yes.
And what this says is, for the calendar year,
Yeah.
we're gonna get 6 28-day messages.
Yes, yes.
And what does that mean? We have to have the same message for 28 days?
No, you have 6 28-day messages, you have one in January, one in March, one in July, that's 28 days, it goes, 28 day cycles, there's 620, there's 13.
168 days total.
120 days total, yeah.
168.
So,
So traditionally, we sell in 4-week increments, and what we're saying is you get 6 4-week increments, whenever you want.
Okay, so that's about half the year. 6 months.
Okay.
Right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to make sure I understand it. So,
I'm sorry.
and we have to take them in 28-day increments?
No, I think we wrote that, we prefer that because we're trying to sell these things, but to be honest with you, we're pretty flexible. If you guys said you wanted to go, we do this with other towns and it's never been really confusing, but we try to make it so that you're guaranteed what you're guaranteed and that you don't take our word for it. So we're saying you get 28, if you want us to break it down by weeks, okay, if if you want a day and it's available, okay, you know what I mean? We're in the yes business, but we just don't want it not to be available, and then you guys are feeling like you're not getting what was the agreement. And the further in advance we do that, the easier. it is.
an example, let's say, okay, we're gonna have our next town board meeting October 19th. When would we have to tell you that we're gonna have that meeting on the 19th?
To have it on your
We
board?
don't want it up the day after the 19th because the meeting's over. Maybe you put it up there for a week, the week
Yes,
before.
yeah.
So how would that work?
The way the agreement says now is that 3 weeks, would be 3 weeks in advance.
Can we tell you?
Oh, so
3
we would
weeks?
have to have it up for a full month?
No,
You
No,
just
just
need to inform us 3 weeks.
So we have to
Oh,
inform
okay.
you and pick a date, say we'd like a week ahead of time, a week on the front end.
Yeah.
So we could, in the beginning of our year, we know our meeting dates, we
Yeah.
could say to you, hey, we really need a week here, a week there, a week
Yes.
there.
Correct.
The way this is originally written, it was written more like a.
Yeah, like
a
you're
band
selling,
formula.
yeah, right.
And the problem was, what we heard back from Chris and Doug was, gee, we don't work that way, and we can't always tell you 30 days in advance. And that's why that language was added about at least a reasonable time. And if it's not what we had normally seen with others, it's gotta be 30 days, or it's gotta be 60 days. And we say reasonable, which is hopefully a couple weeks or something. But you come to us and it seems reasonable, but we've already sold it, that's the problem. If, on the other hand, it kind of sticks to a schedule, then we're obligated, right? Then you say, we check with you or whatever to say, hey, what do you guys got for next month or next, and then boom, and that's how.
Yeah, because when I read this too, it says, hey, if we come to you and everything's sold, it felt like you could have it pre-sold and we could be out, no slots.
No.
I'm not sure if we sold to somebody else.
You sold the year.
If you
Yeah.
sold, it's all slots for the whole year.
Says if all slots during any play have already been rented to other
Yeah,
applicants.
which would,
Or otherwise already designated.
yes, I guess it could be like that, but
Theoretically. you
theoretically,
sell it
yes.
all
Yes, but
And we're
we have an
still-
obligation to you that we have in the contract that we have to provide for you, so we couldn't sell it. We couldn't sell every slot for a whole year. We couldn't do it.
But it says if you can't provide it to us and the year ends, it goes away. You know what I mean? And the way it's written, if I were, fighting with you in court about it, they would say, well,
Yeah.
it says clearly here that if they sold it, you don't get your slots. Why did you not notice that?
And this is a long agreement. It's gonna go, we're not gonna be around.
Yeah.
When this is, when people are reviewing this someday, everyone might have.
I would love you
intention.
guys to still put slots. I know you can't do that.
Well, we
That's what-
can do a lot of that.
Yeah.
I think
I
we
mean,
have,
if
we
you
have
know
quite a
your
bit.
town
that-
board meetings, right, those are set.
Yeah.
We're talking that in January
That
first
time.
meeting, right? I mean,
Yeah, so we have
so
certain
boom,
ones we can
those
do.
would be baked in right away, boom. And
Yeah.
then I presume there's probably other things like
Yeah.
festivals and that are almost like
Exactly.
clockwork.
But if you have sold those slots, we won't be able to advertise.
We're
So long
obligated.
as we give them-
We are obligated under this agreement to provide that.
It's hard for me to see that.
Well,
they're
but
not that hard.
again, the reason, part of the,
guy, so.
well, so am I, actually, but part of the reason that's in.
I don't know.
Yeah, well, it's not easy to draft these things, unfortunately. Particularly to make them so that they're, and I believe me, there's nothing lawyers hate more than lawyer talk, at least for this lawyer. I think if we can better define, or instead of saying a reasonable amount of time, put more parameters on that to say, hey, you really gotta, we wanted 30 days ahead of time, but you really gotta come to us
no less than 21 or something like that, then I think it would be easier for us to say, to not have outs, you know what I'm saying? You know, that's the concern.
Or even some wording in there that's consistently right, consistent with our obligations, you know, under this agreement where we agree, blah, blah, blah. Because that one paragraph seems to undo. I know what you're saying, that you have to do it by the agreement, but the way that's worded, you don't.
You
So
know, the
again,
sentence, I've just stroked down the sentence now, Kathy.
Yeah.
The one that says shall not be obligated.
if all slots during any flight have already been rented to other advertisers, or from et cetera, Lamar shall offer the town alternative flights that are available. If the town provides insufficient notice, such an insufficient number remain, blah, blah, blah. So it says shall offer the town alternative flights that are available. It doesn't say if under 3 weeks, it says at any time. Right?
Well, yeah, but that followed this sentence that says reasonable.
I agree, but
time.
it doesn't say that.
But no, it does follow the sentence that says reasonable time. That's what I'm saying. If we better define that and say, you know
Right.
what, if you don't come to us, take the reasonable time out of it, because that's where you get into hedging, right? If it says, if you don't come to us 3 weeks ahead of time, we can't guarantee you slots. We'll try, but we can't guarantee you.
And that to me is much more reasonable than
Yeah, I
what
think
this
that-
is.
I mean, is that something we could live with?
We don't want to be using rules of construction for
No,
contracts. Make it simple,
I couldn't
right?
agree with you
So
more.
it
I
does
couldn't
follow
agree
that
more.
sentence, but just make it clear.
But I think the concept that makes it, that gets us into trouble here, is it always does with these kinds of concepts, with these contracts, is something like reasonable. You take reasonable out and say, you know, you gotta come to us 3 weeks ahead of time, and if you don't, we can't guarantee it. I think does that
And I-
sound reasonable?
That
I
makes-
feel like that's much more.
That makes the most sense.
Then you have to rework that, so it says.
Yeah, we would, we definitely would.
Somewhere else in here, it says if you've got spare slots, we can have them, right?
Yeah, that'll always.
So
be-
if we do have a last minute,
Yeah, no, we'll always do that. These guys, all these guys, like Jim says, they're the least litigious people I've ever met. I don't know how. But I mean, they want to be able to advertise whenever you want to put it up, and you're gonna be a client, so. The reason the language is in here like this, again, the idea was, we had originally said you gotta do it within X time, and then we got pushback on that from your representatives. If we can say, you gotta give us 3 weeks, and if you don't give us 3 weeks, it's catch as catch can. That's an easy change to make, and we'll make that. And if you all are more comfortable with that, and that's okay, then.
It's more clear.
Yeah, I agree I couldn't agree with you more about that. You're right about that.
Okay.
All right, and then
Did we talk about page 8?
I'm doing that right now.
Okay, good.
So, grandfathering of signs. The second and third paragraphs under that.
Yeah.
There's similar language in both ones.
Yes.
If following the entry of the settlement agreement, there is a change in federal or state law, which the town believes may require the removal of or prevents the operation of or prevents the sale of advertising in the converted Route 332 sign, the town shall cooperate with Lamar to challenge any such change and or its application to the sign. I have no problem maybe with not hinder or
Okay. I was
you
gonna
can't
just ask you about
cooperate with
that.
a private entity
Understood.
to promote your
That
private
makes a lot of sense.
shall, you know, or that the town will, I have to think about it a little bit more. We
Not
have our
oppose or-
obligations that are separate from yours.
Understood.
We can't be a party to,
So I would say not oppose or,
I don't know,
Okay,
because
fair enough.
if it's something that, you know, National Highway Transportation Safety Board says, you know, all, you know, billboards are dangerous, we can't go against that, right?
yeah, the only thing I would say is that you have a settlement agreement. So in that instance, in that thin instance, because it was a settlement about this, the response is, hey, we've obligated ourselves by contract here not to oppose it, which is not the same as saying we're gonna fly the flag or we think NHTSA is full of it, but it's also saying, hey, we have a contractual obligation to do the settlement to not join you in that NHTSA, because in this rare instance, with these particular signs among all others in the universe of signs in the town of Canandaigua, we've signed a settlement. So I would say that's part of your, it's no more or less an obligation of the town than it is for Lamar to provide advertising. The town has to be obligated not to, you know, not to be in a position where it's hurting our ability to have the
I
signs.
don't know if we can do that. I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying, but we have an obligation to the public, different and apart from your private interests.
Yeah, but there's a lawsuit pending and lawsuits get settled all the time.
We're talking about down the line. You said at any time.
I'm sorry,
You talk about at any time. If
anytime after settlement, sure. Because again, that goes hand in hand with the mutual obligations. We can't advertise for the town if somebody comes in and says, well, we don't like these signs. So again, I think this is a mutual interest situation. And if NHTSA says tomorrow signs are, not safe or something, then there's going to be litigation over it.
Right.
And again, as to these particular signs, we have a settlement agreement where there's mutual benefit for the town. The public's being served because they're going to have nice advertising for their public meetings and something. So,
I see what you're saying, but from a government perspective, I don't know that we can encumber our town for a time immemorial on a position that, maybe, you're thinking of what ifs, so am I. Right?
yeah, I understood, and I can't solve that. That's something you got to talk to council about,
Right.
I would say.
Okay, that's one of my.
But I mean, we can certainly change that language to make it less of an affirmative
Takes no
obligation.
position, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, does, well, as I said, doesn't oppose is not, that's pretty,
I don't know. It still makes me nervous.
okay.
In that same.
I don't know if you need it, because if we are, I'm sorry,
I'm sorry. No,
I haven't thought, if we still have this agreement and you can
Yeah.
make us abide by the agreement.
Yeah.
I don't know that you need that, right?
What, does not oppose?
I need that whole,
I think we need it otherwise, because we do have a concern that somebody else is gonna say some other law prevents the signs from being there, and we certainly don't want to be in a position where we're not only having to deal with that, but, but I mean, I think we need to have that in there for both of our sakes, in terms of, without regard to the town either opposing or joining. I think we need that in there because of the potential that somebody says, hey, new law was passed, I think it makes these signs illegal. We're gonna fight that, obviously. And so even if the town takes no position, right, I would still want this in the agreement so that some
I understand
later
why.
town board could say, well, yeah, we agree, we're gonna get rid of it.
I understand what you're saying. I don't know if I can agree with that, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I would do the same.
Yeah.
But I'm not in your shoes. I'm in mine. You can have my shoes if you want.
In the grandfathering of the signs, why are we talking about these dates that the old one was established? Why not put the date down?
It's federal highway beautification law, and I don't know that, and it says if it was established before a certain date, it's
Right.
protected.
Right, but
And I
I'm saying,
think-
well, what is the date that those signs were established?
Honestly,
We don't know.
They go back more than the federal highway beautification law. They go back more than 70 or 80 years.
So we could just say they've been in existence since prior to the something.
Yes.
Instead of saying the oldest date and then we don't know the date, let's
Which one are you
establish the
referring to
date.
Under the grandfather provision?
Yeah, the first paragraph of the
What page
grandfather,
is that on there?
8. It feels to me like we're talking about a weird date that nobody knows what it is. Let's just put the date in there.
We don't have a date. We know it was there before the federal highway.
Then let's say prior to this or something, so there's
Okay.
really a date instead of leaving
Yeah,
it
we
up
can do
to,
that. I'm fine with that.
leaving it up to whatever.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with that. I take no pride in authorship. If it gets in the way of getting this resolved. That's all I'm saying.
And then the venue, we're talking about,
Which page is that?
on 11,
11,
talking
27.
about Monroe County. This is Ontario, right? Yeah. All the signs are in Ontario.
Probably something.
I'm okay with Monroe because it's easier for me to get to and you pay me less to go there.
Might not be you in the future.
Well,
I'm not trying to.
Well, chances are it's going to be Supreme Court
11.
action.
well, but most lawyers are going to hire to litigate an action would probably prefer Monroe.
And where would it be litigated? Does it?
Downtown Rochester as opposed to downtown Canandaigua. It doesn't matter.
Okay, I just
You guys
wondered.
don't care. I agreed to it because it'll be cheaper for you no matter who your lawyer is.
Yeah,
Probably.
I'm only kidding about that. Might not be you, but I'm just saying, I just
No, it's
wondered
a
why.
good point.
He's hoping.
Someday you'll
Well, I
retire.
hope it's not me for 30 years.
Okay, what else do we have? Anything?
Still don't have them size. You want to-
The size. We need to nail down the size.
Is that something you all need? Again, if we're sitting here today, if 22 feet is what you want, that's what we'll do.
And
So
that's-
Linda-
I think
Terry
the
and Gary.
issue, and I just drew this up for conversation. I think the issue, I think really what it comes down to, what we've talked about in the past is both signs being 12 feet by 24 digital face, 12 feet high, a maximum of 12 feet high, maximum of 24 feet wide, digital face, right? And then the thing that we've discussed is the height because of the pedestal, right? So then on the 332 sign, if we say a maximum of 22 feet, the 12 by 24, with a maximum of 22 feet, that gives you 10 feet off of the ground. I know you were really looking for a little bit more than that, but that's what that gives you. And then for the 5 and 20 sign, if we say a maximum of 25 feet, that gives you 13 feet off the ground. It's 13 plus the 12 would be 25, right? So a maximum again. So it gives you, it could be smaller than that, but that would be the most. And we keep going back and forth on
That's
this.
fine.
That's fine. Can you send it to me, Doug?
We'll give it to you right now.
Yeah, whatever you want.
But then we need to make sure everything matches, because I'm telling you, I've been so concerned about that, because the verbiage says one thing, the exhibits attached to the settlement says something else, and then your application said something else. So we just need to make sure it all matches.
Yeah, and the problem with that is, of course, we're making the application after I think we
Right.
delivered
Thank you.
the settlement. We'll do a search and destroy.
Thank God I stole it from him.
Make sure Take a stuff lines out. In the app, the settlement agreement and the exhibits, and that's easy enough. You can just email it if you want.
I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so that is the kind of stuff that was holding us ever back from moving this thing forward. And so what we need is a clean agreement with these kind of things all straight, and then we can,
So what I would
Approve.
propose is that, I'm not gonna send you a clean agreement, I'm gonna send you what's called a markup.
yeah.
Which is
Oh,
gonna show
yeah.
your changes.
So
And I would just invite anyone and everyone and all, in whatever form, to send to
To shoot them
Chris
back.
what you want changed. Thank you. And then we'll make change.
here's what I'm gonna recommend. Joe, send me that marked up agreement, making it friendly. We've touched on a lot of specific things.
Yep.
Here, but the overall response that I got from the board in 3 meetings, and I failed to convey that to you for the last 2, but now we're at a head here. Make it friendlier, make it sound less like Lamar is trying to get away with something, because I don't think you are. I think you have a really good attorney who protects you. That's not gonna fly with the town board. Send that to me. I'll send it to the town board, get responses back. I'm assuming you can do that.
Yeah, we do that.
Next
we'll do
couple
that-
days.
Yeah, we'll do that in a few days.
So I'll send you guys something in the next few days. Let's try and get this wrapped up this week.
I mean,
so
I don't
that-
want to overly complicate it, but we want to get this settled, and I've got a client who wants to get this settled, who's telling me, Joe, get this settled. So if I don't want to complicate it, but if I see something else that I think might be helpful, you want me to take a shot at that?
Everything you can do to make this,
In terms of
make this
making it
friendly,
friendly.
as friendly as Lamar actually is.
Well, that's, yeah, because again, but I don't want to complicate things, so oh, gee, I didn't think of that, I'll also is doing this. I'll give.
Let's not complicate things, Joe. Let's keep it simple.
Yeah.
And no one's saying that you're trying to pull a fast one on any of us. We're just, that's not at all what, at all.
We'll
Just
get that done.
making
Yeah,
it
I have my
simple.
marching orders, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
All right,
so
so
we're gonna make a motion to,
adjourn or,
Continue till October.
so I think we could do that, or we could adjourn it to a specific date. So October 18th. October 18th, I believe.
Yep.
So I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn both of these resolutions. 2021-175, 2021-208 to October 18th. Can I have a second?
second,
Any discussion other than what we've already had? All in favor?
aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
So you know what we're thinking.
Yeah.
All right, so now a motion to,
Wait.
where, oh,
I just mentioned three things here real quick. Do you want to have a separate budget workshop meeting? We have not gotten that direction from you guys yet.
I would like to,
Okay.
but I could also probably do. before.
What?
Finance information. if that's-
Asking if the
Separate
board
budget
wants a
workshop.
workshop meeting separate from like the finance committee, or if you want to set something up separately.
I asked every
Thanks again,
question
we
under the
appreciate it.
sun at
Joe,
the
Joe,
finance.
call me tomorrow if you have
I will.
questions, but
Well, sure. I'll try to get it to you first and then, you know.
You know, I feel like I've already asked every question that I had on, you know, I don't know if other people have a lot.
I would say.
No?
I'm fine. I'm good.
Three of us.
I don't think we need a workshop. Any other questions we can just grab and ask and.
Quite a few of them were answered in the finance committee meeting a week ago. Last Thursday.
Oh, yeah, I would just. if we
A lot of
did that,
questions I had,
that's-
Yeah.
That probably.
If they're open online, that would be good.
Okay. I have two more things real quick here. One, I'm just gonna unmute Shauna here real quick for a second. We have a vacancy on the county planning board. And we've advertised for that 2 months in a row now. We did it through our newsletter and all of our normal stuff. We had one respondent who was interested in being appointed to the county planning board as the town's representative. I contacted the lady who was interested, and she withdrew her name from consideration because she didn't realize the county planning board meets at night. It's just something that she didn't want to commit to. So I know the county is in need of individuals to serve in that capacity, and I had a conversation with Shauna, and I know she reached out to Chris about maybe Shauna, who is also a town resident, serving that capacity for us, at least temporarily, until we can figure that out. And so wanted to run that by you guys. If you're.
I think great.
Good. That'd be great. Thank you, Shauna.
Yep.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So then, actually, if you're okay with it, you could do that by motion, and we could go ahead and make that effective immediately, because it's vacant now.
So motion to appoint Shauna.
To the county planning board?
I'll make a motion to appoint Shauna.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Shauna.
Thanks, Shauna.
And then one more just quick thing, in the Uptown form-based code. One of the things, I'm not looking for any action or anything on this tonight, but you know, I think as we really start thinking ahead to what Uptown's going to look like, I mentioned this at the finance meeting, there's going to be certain expenditures that will probably relate to Uptown that really should not be borne by all the taxpayers of the town of Canandaigua, especially when you're talking about like business improvements, landscaping, all that kind of stuff. So I'd like to actually explore in creation of an Uptown business improvement district that area would pay for itself associated with those type of expenses. So a lot more, obviously not asking you to make a decision on that tonight, but I wanted to introduce the concept to you, and we'll bring it back and work through finance committee, I would assume, and putting some stuff together and bringing back some things for you guys to look at for that. So
That would be similar to what the city does with the
right.
business improvement district.
Mhm. That way it's not, that's what, for example, somebody who lives on Coy Road isn't paying for that expense. That theoretically you could make an argument that a business or a resident who lives in the Uptown area would be getting the, you know, the benefit for just kind of.
I'm off the top of my head, but before I forget, it may not be residential allowed to be in those, to contribute to the taxes, just.
Okay.
But
Well,
I'm not sure.
Most of,
That's fair.
most of the owners that we've talked to, it would be almost like a commercial type, because they would retain ownership of the loan. It wouldn't be, you know.
That would be
So-
handled like all our other special districts.
Yeah. So a lot more to discuss down the road, but just wanted to. Maybe seconds. Okay, that was all I had.
All right. So I think we have another executive session requested by the town manager with the town attorney and the human resource coordinator for the employment history of a particular person. Have a motion to go into executive session.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? I just want to ask, we don't expect any further action after this. So for those of you who are here, we won't be taking any more action after this executive session. Town attorney, human resource coordinator, anybody else? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving into executive
Night,
session.
Yvonne.